I just want to say, you guys are doing a great thing. It's such an uncomfortable topic to talk about, especially for a guy, young guys in their early 20s. And, I'm glad that, I could tune in and, listen to you guys.
Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the broadcast. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free number. We are live here in Los Angeles. Joe Tillman, of course, is live from Vancouver, British Columbia. It's kind of like an old school show we do here. Been on the air for quite a long time in one iteration or another. I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he happened to see one of my lives on Instagram, and he said it's kind of unique because these kids, they don't even understand the whole concept of a call-in radio show, and no one does it on Instagram. So you kind of like you're bringing back kind of like an old school format in a new way.
But that's just it. You're not even bringing it back. It never left.
No, it never left. But it's I just realized my light is like, the lighting's fine. It's like 3 feet high for some reason. But I guess for my new height, according to our friend in the chat room, are we live? This doesn't look like
yes,
it's going.
We are live. We are as live as it can get.
Why is it not playing for me?
Sounds like it's a computer thing for you.
It might be. Yeah, I mean, I read in the chat room last week, I think from our very cheerful friend Hampton Hudson, that he thought that I was over the height of 5'8" until he saw my reels.
Really?
Backhanded. And listen, nothing wrong with being shorter than 5'8", people. So guys who are shorter than 5'8", look, it is what it is. But in his mind, that was some sort of a jab.
Was it a jab or was he ribbing you?
Yeah.
Like a guy? Okay, all right.
I would say that. I would say he had to be ribbing me. I mean, because I'm
a guy thing. All right, that's cool.
All
right.
I'm taller than the guy that worked on his skull. But whatever.
Two completely different things.
Yeah.
So,
the phone number is 888.
what's new?
A lot of stuff is new. We're working on a project that will be out soon. It's both for the industry and for the public. Can't discuss exactly what it is, not because I don't want the public to know, but the industry is so effed up that, it's a constant head them off at the pass before things start, which, like with the Global Hair Loss Summit, for instance, that was a good thing because that's why we were able to get have such a major success that first year. Mm-hmm. It's because these guys try to shut it down. Everyone's like, what is this? This looks pretty cool. And then we essentially blew them out of the water. Now, it's funny. I saw Gary Linkoff, our online friend, do a video on the ISHRS meeting claiming that it was the most attended hair loss meeting in the industry.
Wrong.
And I didn't want to correct him publicly. But Global Hair Loss Summit destroyed any in-person or online conference in this field, in the history of this field. Yeah. And that is because it was apolitical. It was also during the pandemic, and the only other option was the ISHRS virtual conference, which was, at least according to those few people who attended, probably not as thrilling as they wanted it to be.
If you can apply that word thrilling to a hair transplant conference.
Yeah.
Just throwing that in there. But yeah.
Yeah. I need a haircut, man. It's been about 4 weeks. So just so you guys know, you see the hair does grow. You fucks.
Or you have different wigs with different hair lengths.
That would actually be ingenious and diabolical. That is diabolical, just like everyone else in this industry. Diabolical.
Mine works. So there seems to be a bit of news in the industry this week. some very bad news and some very good news. I just learned about today because I've been completely ignoring the industry for the past several days. Haven't paid one iota bit of attention.
Are you talking about the Adirondack curse?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually.
Dude, let me
Yeah.
tell you something.
So,
Bosley has contacted me, and their marketing people have contacted me in the past. I never had a great feeling. And there was at one point where, we were talking about considering some of their physicians, possibly because they're doing so much better. But man, thank God, because anything this company touches, sadly, and again, I don't know this for sure, Adirond's, but from what we've seen, never really gets off the ground.
Well,
Stimson was doing great. They were doing great.
Yeah.
They were getting funding. They decided to work with Adirond's. Boom, out of business.
See, I didn't realize that. I missed that, or maybe I forgot about it. So Stimson Therapeutics started to work with Adirond's, and as of 2 days ago, Stimson Therapeutics shuts down after being basically the most talked about company when it comes to hair loss treatments, cures coming down the pike.
Yeah.
With all the, I remember when they first got their attention, and they got $25 million of angel funding.
They got their
at the
attention through
time,
Global Hair Loss Summit.
That was the single largest influx of cash that any of these types of companies had received up to that point.
Yeah.
So that's the bad news, everyone. Stimson Therapeutics, they're done. They're gone.
Yeah.
But
one of the guys that
the
used to
good
work there
news-
is now, he's parking my car right now.
Yeah, exactly. He's working for Uber Eats.
Not the CEO,
On the
very
flip
nice
side-
guy. Really enjoy him. Not even going to mention his name.
There's another
Spells his
company.
name with a G instead of a J, which is always interesting.
We don't care.
Okay.
There's another company,
I do.
Veridermics, and they have what's called a VDPHL tablet for hair loss. And they have raised $75 million for phase 2, phase 3 trials.
It's fucking awesome.
That's exciting.
It is. And how
That
much?
is a huge
how much is going? How much
amount
is
of money.
going to administration? How much is going to the heads of the company? And when will this fold?
Well, see, there are a lot of factors involved with that. It could be a lot sooner than Stimson because people think that, well, hey, we got 3 times as much money. We can spend a lot more freely. Or they might say, we don't want to become another Stimson Therapeutics. Let's drag this out for at least 7 years before we close shop.
Yeah.
I don't know. But you can go to hairlosscure2020.com to check out the details on both of those. That's the headlining story on the homepage, and the second story right below it. So check those out. That's interesting. By our supporter and American Hair Loss Association trusted content provider, hairlosscure2020.com.
Creator. Get it right.
Yep. Yeah.
Listen, I love Hair Loss Cure 2020. I love what he does. My whole issue has always been, when we bring this stuff out there, people get so excited, they watch it. It keeps the forums busy, and it keeps people ultra excited about, the potential cure. But I've been doing this for almost 30 years. And these exact same processes, slightly deviated from the original technology, in quotes, have been tinkered with for the last 30 years. People have been very excited about it. When I first started to do the show, that's the thing. I would start with that information, and I'd get a huge audience on the radio to talk about this stuff.
That was Joe from Staten Island's regular shtick. He would be on the show. And
That
he
was
would do
actually
the,
even years later. That was a decade after, But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he would do that. And
That was his shtick.
I like to deal with what we're dealing. I like to help people and help people navigate through the insane waters of this industry for what it is now. Because we cannot depend on anything. Now, with what's happening with AI, if people take a real interest, it's possible we can come up with something eventually, in the next few years that can really blow us away. But I always raise, you got to look at things with a jaundiced eye, especially when people are raising capital, because you have to understand how these companies work.
Yeah.
They raise the funding, they get the capital, you have to check out the salaries of the CEO and, the CFO and all the other people that are working for the company. How much money is actually going into the research? And when the papers come out and when the information comes out and these studies come out, it can raise more funding. But what percentage of these companies ever actually get a product? And I'm not just talking about the hair world, but a product to market. It's a very small percentage overall. So I think when we're talking about a health issue, when we're talking about our appearance, when we're talking about something that really robs us, this disease of the spirit, we're suckers. We're so vulnerable. We're so interested in this, what's next. And I used to love watching it. Now it's kind of sad when I see people battling over what's going on in the future and why they can take certain risks, like getting a 6,000 graft hair transplant, because, soon enough, when I need more hair, there's going to be more hair available to me through these technologies. Maybe, maybe not. That's what people thought 20 years ago, too. Let's get a mega session. When, guys over here in Los Angeles were pulling people, strips out, 5,000 grafts and like having to close the wounds with their foot on the back of the guy's neck to try to close these wounds. And if you look at some of these guys today, even though they had FUT, they need more hair. They got nothing left. It's just the way that it is, people. I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but I want to provide you guys with the truth. That's what I do. The truth sucks. Here's the truth. You start losing hair at a young age, you have, 50-50 chance of maintaining it for a decent period of time. If you have a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor as the base of your treatment, you start early. You have about 86% chance of maintaining your hair, maybe regrowing some hair. That can stay in, you can keep those anagen phases going for, it could be a couple of decades if you're lucky. Those who choose not to take oral medication have a smaller chance. While these topical compounded medications can work, they're not working all over your scalp. They're only working essentially where you're applying them. Now, topical finasteride does go systemic to some degree. So there's going to be some systemic action there. But no matter what anyone says in the market, no matter what they're selling you, these products are not as effective, in general, from what I know, as taking oral medication. End of subject. People could disagree. Companies who are making these products and selling them can disagree. And I'm all for these products. But you guys should know the truth. It's not like, okay, I don't want to take oral finasteride. I could take topical. It's going to be just as good for the long term. What's the long term? Where are the tests? Where are the studies? We do know that finasteride's been around for 30 years.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. We know plenty of doctors that have done their own studies on 7 patients that prove what they're talking about.
All right, Joe, you're right. You have to contradict me in front of everybody.
7, maybe 6.
Yeah.
On a bad day.
Look,
legit stuff here.
And I don't see anything wrong with giving it a shot. I did a sequence on Zeph's hair transplant. Everyone knows Life with Zeph. Is that his Life with Zeph? He's a hair loss dude, became an online influencer, has like a few 100,000 followers. Everyone's throwing shit at him now. They want him to promote this product, and they want him to, they're giving away free hair transplants. Good for Zeph, really. But what a lot of patients don't fully grasp is, given his age and given his essentially his extensive hair loss at a rapid rate, getting the regrowth that he got from the topicals that he used isn't necessarily atypical, because really the miniaturization process and the hairs that were miniaturized, there was still life in them. they're able to be resuscitated. Now, maybe not for a long period of time, but at least temporarily using topicals. So he did well. I mean, he has significant growth for the extensive hair loss that he had. But there are other people who we've seen, and you've seen, Joe. You've seen guys who've taken oral minoxidil or whatever. I mean, they were like Norwood 6s, and you're like, holy cow.
Oh, yeah.
Look at this growth. So if you catch it early enough, even if you have extensive baldness where you look bald, where you have the full pattern of a Norwood 5 or 6, that hair can be resuscitated. Now, will it be resuscitate the full terminal hair? Will it continue to generate and regenerate and go through full hair growth and hair loss phases? Anagen, catagen, telogen? Maybe for a while with topicals. But it's really the oral medication that's going to keep that thing going if he does well on it. My point is, everyone thinks it's a choice. I don't have to take oral finasteride. I could avoid the side effects, and I could just use topical and get the same results. Long term, there's no evidence of that. The reason a guy like Zeph did so well is because he's so young and relatively early in the process. If he's been balding 7 years, that's probably a long time. But it was just rapid. So the follicles were still there. The vellus hairs were still able to be resuscitated. And I'm glad that they were.
Yeah.
I don't personally think he should have had a hair transplant this year.
Nope.
For all we know, he can grow back so much hair from oral finasteride, which he started, I think, in October, that, if he still wanted a hair transplant, maybe it would have been 1,500 grafts.
Yeah.
Not a 2-day operation of over 4,000 grafts.
Wonder how many follicles were destroyed that might have been revived.
Well, that's something that no one's going to talk about. Just making the recipient sites. Who knows what could have happened? And it's funny when I saw him having his physician, and when he saw him having a consult with his physician online, his physician basically said, all the hair that you regrew, we can't expect that to be around for a very long time. I think he said, you'll probably lose it in the next 5 or 10 years. Don't quote me on that, but you could see the videos. And I saw the look on Zeph's face, like, okay, what am I doing here? What am I getting into?
He's like,
he didn't expect that one, I'll tell you that.
Since when? Yeah, exactly.
But I do, and listen, and I don't want to be like I told you so. I hope everything works out for him. I hope all the hair grows in. I hope there was no damage to, the potential hair follicles that could have been revived with oral medication. I made it very clear that out of all these influencers I've seen have hair transplants, this is probably the most well-executed and refined work that I've seen. So that's a plus. The hairline was placed very appropriately. The graft extraction was very clean. It's obviously all over the back of his insides of his scalp, but when his hair grew back in, you really don't see the punctate wounds. Doesn't look like he has a lot of donor depletion, which is great. But how many more surgeries does this guy have in him? Not many.
No.
At least not many FUE surgeries.
I was going to say on his case with FUE, majority of his existing donor hair was already taken.
Yes.
So we'll see.
I'm trying to be a little more positive for the guy in case he's listening.
And that's fine, but he needs a dose of reality. It's like he had 4,000 grafts, give or take, taken from his donor area via FUE. He didn't have a terrific donor zone to begin with, from what I recall.
He has retrograde alopecia already.
Little retrograde. And even the average patient doesn't have retrograde that has an average donor area, 6,000 grafts, depending on which clinic that they go to, because also some clinics can manage the donor area better than others. Maybe 7,000 grafts, 7,500. But the point being, more than half of his donor hair was taken for one surgery. How old is he? How old is this
He's
kid?
either 27 or 29, I think. We could find out. He's young.
Yeah, young, not terribly very young, but not 22 young.
No,
So
he may be
that's a good thing.
27. He may be 27. That may be his age.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
But I mean, he again,
anyway,
rapid hair loss. I'm assuming he started. I don't know his full story, but given the extent of his hair loss, it could have been in high school or it could have been like right, in his 20s. It depends. But if it started in his 20s or late teens, a lot of that hair can be resuscitated, as he was able to show once he started to use. I know that he does derma rolling and rosemary oil, and he's still kind of pimping that stuff out. But the reality is, it was the topical, it was the minoxidil and the other topical meds that he was using that most likely did the trick.
yeah.
You could get a slight boost from derma rolling for a short period of time. That's kind of I'm not a huge fan because most people think they have to continue doing it, and that's when the damage starts to occur. But I don't know how many, I should take that back. A lot of doctors would have performed surgery on him. That's kind of that's a disappointing part of it all.
More surgeons than not would have performed surgery on him. That's the way I think that's best said.
And he kind of got involved with kind of the side of the field that, that really concentrates on selling surgery.
Yeah.
So that's the unfortunate thing. Like if I was sitting there, if he was sitting in front of us and he told us that he plans on getting surgery in 2024, I wouldn't have been like, oh, really? I would have been like, brother, do not plan on 2026. All right? Give yourself some time. Wait till you're at least over 30. Let's see how well you do. Or at least wait a year. You just got on medication.
There will still be surgeons around that would consider doing surgery for you in 2026.
Yeah.
Just saying. They'd consider it. They'd take it under advisement.
Like, I certainly wouldn't have been like, that is great. Really? 2024?
Fucking A.
Yeah. Let's make that happen. This industry is it's a fucking disgrace. Sorry, Joe. It really is. It's just a disgrace.
I agree.
I mean, he looked, I saw his confidence come back. He did so well, resuscitating his hair. God knows what could have come back in the next year.
Well, it was so much improvement in such a small amount of time.
Yeah.
Potential was there for greatness.
I mean, you add a little finasteride, which he did, maybe some oral minoxidil with what he's been able to resuscitate topically. Holy cow. This kid may never have needed a hair transplant, or at least for many years. Guys, call in 888-659-3727. I just saw the phones lit. We're here to take your calls. That's what we're here for. Still have this damn sinus infection, but that's my problem.
Oh, no. That sucks.
That's all right. It's either that or I've got throat cancer. We'll figure it out. I was going to say something really crude. Can't say that.
Benny G says, who are the guys talking about? We're talking about, what's his name? Spencer on Instagram?
He's Zeph on Instagram. Life of Zeph, I think it is.
Life of Zeph on Instagram, yeah.
He's he became like a hair loss influencer. And let me make this clear. He seems like a very sincere guy. I believe he's just like all these other kids, misled by what he saw online. Mm-hmm. And then he kind of fell into the wrong hands. And he was misled by the industry.
As so many people are.
Honestly, he had the opportunity sitting there with people who really understand I thought understood hair transplant surgery. Mm-hmm. And they're looking at him like they're foaming at the mouth, man. They're salivating, man. They're looking at this guy like fucking prey.
Look, when a hair transplant patient comes in to a clinic, virtually, through social media or walking in, actually both, for consultation. The moment the clinic finds out that they're some sort of online influencer, you can hear a record scratch. I mean, everything stops, and they do start salivating, just like you said. I know of cases, one particular case, I know of where a doctor lost all sense of ethics, lost all sense of his duty to patient care, because an influencer with 1 million subscribers on his YouTube made a really bizarre and unsafe request on the morning of surgery.
Yeah, we kicked him out of our organizations because of that.
Yeah. And, it's a complete
Brother, you cannot perform hair
turnaround on
transplant surgery without anesthetic just because the patient and influencer says he thinks he can meditate through the pain.
Yeah. Yeah, that was... I'm still shocked by that.
What happens if the guy went into shock? And forget about having to clear the surgical field of all the blood. Trying to work within those parameters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, Jesus Christ. He's like, all right, I wouldn't recommend it, but let's give it a shot.
Sure. Why not?
I never forget when I'm on the phone with this guy. He's hemming and hawing. I'm like, Doc, look. You're a nice guy. You've been with the organization for a long time, but I know no one's going to care because people are stupid. But that was a really amazingly bad judgment call. And I would say probably one of the least ethical things that I know about. And I know a lot that I know about being done in this field.
Why didn't he just meditate through being bald?
I've been meditating through this comb over for years.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
But yeah, I mean, this is the nature of the industry. This is the way that it is. I mean, I could bitch till today until I'm blue in the face. It's interesting. So I'm gaining a little traction on Instagram. I haven't had a lot of time to post this week, and I'll start posting again. But the questions that come in, it's absolute insanity. Now, I think it's a combination of the way the industry is, the way it portrays itself, and also pure stupidity. I don't think, as dumb as we were as kids and the stuff that we bought, and even people had surgery before they did their research, like dumbasses like Joe, it's still worse. The questions that it is 2000, it's almost 2025, and people still believe. They still believe that rubbing oil on their head is going to grow their hair back. They still...
Well, it's because there's so many people out there telling them it will.
Yeah.
That kind of shit works. It's like...
But all I have to explain to them is like, do you think your father would be bald if he could just go out and buy some oil and rub it on his head? Or everyone else you see on the street? It doesn't compute with these people.
No.
All right, let's take a phone call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, how's it going? My name's James. I'm from Seattle.
James from Seattle. What's happening,
brother?
What's up,
James? How's it going?
Hey, I've been listening to you guys for a little bit. I was just curious, in your opinion, what the best options are. So I was kind of one of those knuckleheads that did the surgery at a young age, early, mid-20s. 36 now. I got a massive FUT scar on the back and thin up top. And I see the whole S&P industry is popular, but I don't want to jump into something again and regret that in another decade too, So
okay, so
this is the safest call you could make.
Yeah,
this best call you could make.
Yeah.
So you said you got your surgery at 22. You had a strip surgery. How many grafts were moved?
God, God, it's been so long. I'm 36 now, and I did two different FUT surgeries. I don't, and the surgeon, he's not even, he retired. He's not even there, so I can't even go in, and I just completely forget the amount of graft.
Okay. Well, all right. So you had two surgeries in your early 20s. How did the surgeries turn out initially?
Very good. The first one I was happy with, and then a few years later, I think about 5 years later, it started getting more kind of thin, and then I did a second one, and I was happy for probably a decade.
That's great. That's good to hear.
Did you have surgery in Seattle or Bellevue?
Yeah, Seattle. Yeah.
Was it Dr. Neil Bosky?
No, it was Brian Gortz. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Oh, Brian Gertz. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think he's around anymore.
Maybe. I haven't heard about him in a long time.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you had a good result.
Yeah. No, and I mean, and my hair is still, I take, I do the Propecia and the minoxidil, and it's still, it's kind of weird because it's still, technically it's a full head of hair, but it's just thinning around the hairline and then a thin scalp. Okay. And so I'm just reluctant to do another one, but I'm also reluctant to do the S&P, and I feel like I can't just give up.
Well, what would the S&P do for you at this point if you want to keep your hair? I mean, if you decide to shave your head, that's a different story.
Yeah, it would be to just rock the buzz, just kind of give up, and because right now I'm doing the whole fibers if I'm going out for something on the scalp and hairline.
Yeah, welcome to my world, brother.
Yeah, which is it's okay, but I kind of like the idea of just maintenance free, buzz it down, do a little bit S&P over the scar.
You're out of the maintenance free world. You have to accept that.
Well, yeah, I know. I think there's probably no such thing, huh?
Yeah, that ship has sailed as soon as you cut your head. As soon as you got cut.
Right.
And that's okay, but that's just you have to accept that reality.
Sure.
Do us a favor and define massive. What do you mean by massive? Is it just a really long scar? Is it really wide, or both? Tell us about your scar.
Well, it's just when it's shaved down. Like if I were to do a 1 on the sides or a 2, it's just screaming at you. It's just a long FUT scar. Yeah.
Okay, so what about a 3 guard? Can it be hidden with a 3 guard?
It could be probably a little more camouflaged, yeah.
Okay. So, all right. Yeah. So your definition of massive is just a long scar. It's not really got a lot of stretch back in it, which means that it's for an FUT scar. It sounds like it's actually pretty good, pretty decent, and not like this disaster. Okay. So I ask these questions because I'm just trying to find out what massive scar means to you. Where in general this is a fairly normal sounding FUT scar, and
just simply trying to ascertain your situation,
trying to analyze the situation. Right. So I have the same thing. Okay, I have a scar that is ear to ear, and I've had 7 strip surgeries in total. Maybe it was 8. I forgot. Yeah. 7, that's right, including a scar revision. So I understand. I also had 2 surgeries when I was 22 years old, and it wasn't until I was 32 that I had my first repair surgery, and then it just kept going from there. So S&P is not a good idea, especially if you want to go maintenance-free, as you said. I think that if you want to go maintenance-free, there's 2 things you got to understand. One, you'll never be able to get rid of it completely as far as the appearance of this donor scar. And 2, part of being maintenance-free is a mindset where it's visible to others. If they look, they may not recognize, depending on how it looks for to the outside world, if you will. But it's a mindset. Does it matter to you if people see that you have part of a strip scar, or if they can see part of your strip scar? Does it actually weigh on you, or can you develop a mindset of, fuck it, I don't care?
Right.
That's a big part of it. That is a huge part of it. And if you can accept that part of the equation, then the solution becomes a bit easier, where instead of going for an S&P solution, which can and will most likely make it worse due to a myriad of reasons I can get into later, but some sort of FUE surgery into that scar tissue can help to reduce the appearance of it even at shorter haircuts. It'll never completely disappear, okay? But I'll tell you my personal situation. There are certain hair lengths where my donor scar is completely invisible to the naked eye and those around me, when my head is actually really, like, my hair is really short, like a one cut or even a zero cut on the clippers, you can't see it. And it's because the scar tissue actually blends in with my my skin tissues, the color. But if I was to start getting tan on my scalp from keeping it shaved for so long, then it would actually stand out again. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. So you did a FUE into the FUT scars, we're saying?
Yes, into the very back, what we call the occipital region of the donor area, which is the very back of the scalp. I had about 100 grafts placed into the donor scar there. It wasn't bad to begin with, but it was just, hey, we're doing this anyway, so let's make this look as good as we can. And it turned out great. Like, it really does look a lot better. Not that it was terrible to begin with, but it really is hard to pick out if you don't know what you're looking for. The biggest thing for me right now is when my hair is shorter, not shaved, but buzz kind of short, is the direction in hair growth above and below that donor scar. That's what is visible with my hair, not so much the scar. So there's always going to be some sort of shortcoming and compromise with this kind of situation that you and I are both in. But again, it comes down to mindset. If you can accept it, then what anyone else thinks about it is very small.
Can I talk?
I wasn't. Well, okay, sure, fine.
All right, brother. So let me ask you this: Have you tried to work with titrating your medication? Maybe talking to a doctor about potentially upping your dosage of finasteride, or have you added oral finasteride into the mix?
So I've just been doing I think it's 1 milligram daily of the finasteride, and then I just do the liquid minoxidil. But I have been hearing that the oral has been more, the oral minoxidil has been more effective. So I'm thinking about trying that.
Well, also know, like, if you decide again on these, change your medication, you could always go through a shed too. So you have to be aware of that. And that could suck, and it could be devastating. It would normally come back, but that's possible. But let me ask you this: Are you noticing a lot of hair falling out, or are you just noticing things are diminishing over time?
I think it's just a diminish over time. Like, I still have quite a bit of hair on top. I think the finasteride and Propecia or minoxidil is doing a good job of hanging on to it.
Okay.
It just kind of just feels not as full as it once was.
Yeah.
And there's part of me that I'm kind of okay with just kind of throwing in the towel almost and buzzing it, but it's just now that FUT scar is kind of the biggest holdback from just kind of rocking a buzz cut,
Well, let me ask you: if you decided to rock the buzz cut, would you have SMP in your hairline as well, or you just wanted to camouflage the scar?
So I've gone back and forth on both. Part of me was thinking just the scar, and then part of me is thinking, well, if I'm doing it anyway, why not fill in the top? And so that's kind of where I've been on the fence about.
So you're aware, and this may sound like a stupid question, but you're aware that this is like you're tattooing your head, right?
Oh yeah, no, that's why haven't jumped into it, because I'm just like, to me, it's like, holy shit.
The SMP industry is a very interesting industry. Now, there are some true believers, and there's some good artists, and I've seen some decent long-term results. But what's interesting is I believe that there are certain people in the field. There's a lot of the field that kind of created this new normal of a look. They create these lineups on these Caucasian kids like, line up haircuts. I don't know if you know what that is, but, like very squared off hairlines and,
Yeah, it looks awful. Yeah.
and it's very common. I mean, depending on what part of LA I'm driving in, I could see like just lines of kids with these tattooed lineups. I'm like, holy cow, I can't even believe it that this is a reality in 2024.
Yeah. No, it looks awful. Now, the S&P that I've looked at, the lady that does it, she does really like subtle, kind of natural receding type whatever.
Okay, yeah.
And that's what I would not want, that whole edged up barbershop look,
Yeah. Okay, well, good.
Good.
That's a good sign. As far as the permanency of the ink, all of the ink fades over time. Now, there's more permanent ink and there's less permanent ink. The more permanent ink may fade, and no matter what they say, even if they say, this has a 7-year life, most of these people haven't been doing this for 7 years. And we really don't know what the ink life is. And, I've seen plenty of kind of bluish green tints to people's heads over the years. Everyone in today's market will tell you, well, that's the old ink or that's different. I don't believe that. There's trichopigmentation, which uses, it, and Joe knows a lot about this. He actually introduced it to the world. And see how I gave you credit, brother? And
Yes, I do. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And, they don't go as deep. They use a very specific type of ink, and it will fade. So your touch-ups will be a little different. You're not necessarily doing touch-ups and trying to imagine trying to kind of get exactly on the tattoo dot that was already placed there. That doesn't happen. Right. Eventually what happens with touch-ups, and you'll see this over time, there becomes this confluence of color. And then you see these guys walking around like they have a helmet of tattoo on their head. Even some of these old-time SMP guys. Like you see, these are in images. You see pictures of these guys, and you have to think to yourself, and look, I'm no one to talk about hair. I got crazy hair. But you think to yourself, don't these guys look at themselves in the mirror?
Yeah.
And they're providing the service to people.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So if that, opens your eyes to my feelings on it, I mean, I do think, you look at a guy like Joe Rogan who shaves his head completely, I've noticed that his scar looks less visible over time. So it's very possible he had something done.
That's what I was wondering. I always wondered what Rogan did, because I've seen pictures of him from behind, and it's like you can't really tell he has it. But in previous pictures, you definitely could.
Yeah. I've seen him in person, both pre and post whatever was done. And that was one time I was standing behind him in Burbank Airport, and I didn't want to bug him, but I was just like, that is it was a pretty good scar. It was kind of brutal, and they took it so low. I mean, this guy, there's signature scars in this industry. I know who did that work. In my mind, I think I know. And I'm like, Jesus, they went really deep down to the nape. This guy didn't even have a chance of having a successful hair transplant.
No.
He wasn't even given a chance.
His Rogan's original scar, in my opinion, it was worse than mine. So I've always been curious, like, what the hell did Rogan do to conceal it?
Yeah, I can't say for sure. Yeah, my only guess would be, he may have had some SMP done. Or continues to have it done. I mean, he's a big tattoo guy anyway. So to him, it was probably like whatever. It doesn't look like it doesn't look like there's a confluence of color. I do notice there may be a slight darker area in there, so that's why I'm thinking it might be some form of SMP. But I don't know for sure. He doesn't contact me and say, "Hey, Spence, I'm getting SMP." I had one correspondence with him many years ago, and he did ask about what he can do with his scar. And at the time, they were starting to do FUE into scars. I made that suggestion, but said, it's going to be difficult to go to the right person, and you have to get more surgery, and then you're going to be left with kind of punctate wounds in other parts of your scalp.
Right. Yeah, that's the one thing I was hesitant about doing another I heard you could do another surgery into the scar, but then I'm just like, are you just trading another scar to make one look a little better? And just
You're limiting your ability to shave your head if you really want to shave it down completely.
right.
Like to me,
Yeah,
I think a clean shave looks better with a straight scar than with 1,000 punctate wounds. That's just my opinion.
100%.
Say that again. It
Explain
looks
the
better
way-
than what?
I believe that a good shave, if someone decides to buzz their hair, it looks a hell of a lot better having a strip scar than having 1,000 punctate round wounds all over your scalp.
Oh, the FUE scar. You mean? Yeah. No, for sure.
I mean, worst case scenario, use you could use a little bit of makeup in the back, get a Sharpie, not a real Sharpie. But I mean, there's things you can do to break up that scar. You could get trichopigmentation, temporary.
Yeah.
See how you like it. If it's
So
something,
that's just like SMP, but not permanent.
yeah, maybe it'll last you, depending on your body chemistry, a year, 2 years. I don't know, Joe. What do you think?
Tricho, yeah, it depends on how your body eats it up. Like I've seen it disappear in just a matter of months. It also depends. It's interesting. It also depends on the practitioner. Like, are they doing it properly? Because I know that one of the things that's different about trichopigmentation is the depth at which the pigment is injected.
Sure.
Even among SMP, like different SMP practitioners, it's different depending on who trained them, what tools and machinery and needles they're using. But I've seen even some tricho work last for years. Like if I shave my own head, you can see some old tricho work that I had, and I think part of it also has to do with sun exposure, like how the skin is exposed to sun. I think that helps to accelerate the degradation of it as well.
Yeah.
So there's no guarantees with it. No guarantees with it from anyone. And one thing to really keep in mind is if you're talking to what these people call themselves as artists, S&P artists. If you talk to one and they say that it'll disappear in 5 years, the next logical question you need to ask is, how long have you been doing this? And they say anything less than 5 years, then the third question is, then how the fuck do you know it'll disappear in 5 years? Because you've been told this by someone that trained you? Like that's one of the biggest dumb lines I've heard from people over the years. Oh yeah, it'll last you for at least 10 years. Really? How long have you been doing this? 3? Then how do you know?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, I mean that
no
industry
clue.
just hasn't been around that long, so.
I mean, it's been around for a while, but just that you're constantly. I mean, essentially, what happens? A lot of people who are like barbers, whatever it is, they kind of get into it. They get some training, and or tattoo artists, and they're like, yeah, there's a lot of idiots out there that wouldn't mind getting their head tattooed, and that's it.
Yeah,
that's the way it works.
Yeah.
Listen, I've seen some good SMP. I really have. Where it's kind of like, wow, it almost looks 3-dimensional, and. On the right person with the right skin tone and the right shaped face, I can kind of see that it makes a difference in their life.
Sure.
Most SMP, I believe, that I see online or in person sucks.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen some really good stuff too. So for the SMP haters or the people, don't be a hater. I'm sure your work is great, but the stuff that I see in person is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And going off before and after pictures online are way different than seeing someone in person.
100%.
Yeah.
And I'm a guy. I'm speaking. I have a Trump the early years comb over. Okay, so I know what I'm talking about when it comes to crazy hair.
It's always the best.
Yeah. Well, no, whatever you're doing, it looks better than all that S&P, you see. So.
Well, I appreciate that, brother. I do my best.
Yeah.
I'm 59 years old. I've been dealing with this torture and this exhausting sculpture for years, but I'm still pretty happy.
So you just do the topic fibers then?
I don't use topic. I use something called Derm Match.
Okay.
So I basically paint my head, for lack of a better word.
Which
Yeah.
might be better for you if you've got a good, strong covering of hair and you just want to increase the density. Dermash might be better for you.
Okay. And is that you're doing that daily then, or?
No. I do it. I did it today because I'm going to go out, but sometimes even on the air I don't do it. But no, I don't do it every day. I mean, I just I do it like if I'm going to go to a bar or if I'm going to be out or shit like that.
Yeah. Well, no, I appreciate that. I think you kind of talked me out of the S&P route, at least for now.
Yeah, I've known guys who've been in your position and they think they're going to be saved by SMP, and they're not. Maybe for the short
it's
term.
It's easy to think that because it sounds like it's it's very quick and you do have immediate results, and it is very gratifying at the end of the day when you have it done, but there's so much. The rabbit hole in that is so deep. It's as complicated as surgery, if not more so, in some regards. So it's not an easy fix. It really isn't.
You're going to see a lot of guys in the old folks' home with crazy tattooed heads. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah, that's my biggest thing. It's like, God, what are these going to look like in 20, 15, 10 years?
Yeah. I mean, I look at if I make it, like I'm 59, say I make another 5 years with what I got. That's pretty good, Yeah.
Well, and who knows? I mean, the way technology is going, they might have some crazy cloning type thing before you know it. So
let's put it this way: when it happens, I'll get it done, and then you won't hear from me.
Yeah.
All right,
On
brother.
vision.
All right. Good luck. Take care. Thanks for the call.
Awesome.
Thanks for calling.
Okay.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Yep.
Bye.
Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. Everyone who's watching this on Joe Tillman's Hair Transplant Mentor channel, call in. What do I got to start doing this on Instagram all the time for phone calls? It's ridiculous. Jesus Christ. No calls.
It's like all the emails and DMs I got asking what happened to the show the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, where's the show? Where's the show?
It's like, where are you? We're back. That's actually the title of today's show. We're back. so
I gotta
take advantage of it.
I gotta start sitting up straight. I'm noticing that as I'm sitting at this desk or when I'm working at it, like I'm like starting to hunch over, man.
Wow, now you're sitting up high. Okay, now I gotta adjust my camera a little bit. There we go. Can't have you taller than me. There we go.
Well, according to your friend Hampton, I'm like 5'7".
Well, I saw him commenting on your DMs that you're like Hervé Villachez.
God damn that guy.
People don't even know who that is.
I know.
Nowadays. That's what's so bad.
Yeah.
I could even do the impersonation.
That guy was allegedly packing too.
Well, for someone that's as tall as my knees.
Phone number
the plane. He gets it.
Yeah. Phone number 888-659-3727. We are live. This is a toll-free number. It's a call-in show. We're here to help you and discuss anything and everything hair loss. This guy was going to get his head tattooed. We just saved his ass.
We just saved him.
We just speak a little logic. Bring a little logic into the equation. And for all you SMP guys, don't be haters. I know a lot of you guys follow me on Instagram. I think there's a place for it, but your customers, because they're not patients, have to know the reality of it. They're getting their heads tattooed. That's it.
They're not patients.
Yeah. If you want to live with a head tattoo and then have to potentially have it touched up over time, can't get your head in the sun because it will fade the ink faster. If you're in a position where you're comfortable with that, then do it. There's nothing wrong with that. You got people tattooing like artwork on their head now. If they want to tattoo hair, that's great. But just understand the limitations of it, what it really is. It is not a hair loss solution.
No.
It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle alternative. It's a choice.
Oh my God.
It's a choice. You choosing to tattoo your head and limit certain activities in your life.
LGBTQIASMP.
But
Let's add them to the list.
Yeah, you're choosing to limit your life if you want, unless you want it to fade. Now, if you are a person with darker skin and you're not concerned about getting any sun, and you're willing to wear sunscreen on your scalp at all times when you're outside, great. But if you are a pasty white guy who's choosing to get dark SMP without any ability to get sunshine or natural vitamin D, that's a choice. That's a life choice.
Yep.
I know a guy who had it done. I think he's getting tricho done. He's a big tanner. So, I mean, it fades. So I think it's fine. He gets it retouched. He had bad surgery as a young guy. He was a hairpiece guy for a long time. I think you know the guy, Joe. He goes to your buddy. And he looks good.
Okay.
He looks good. I mean, he's got the Dodd magician thing happening with the beard, but that's his thing. He's a handsome kid, handsome guy.
Yeah.
But he's doing something that fades. He's willing to allow it to fade faster, I guess, with the sun. It's not turning colors on him, which is great. They've been able to retouch him, and he looks great. But it's a process. It's a lifestyle choice. Like you're in it.
Yeah.
You're tattooing your head, brother.
Yeah. Don't think it's anything else. And like Spencer said, like there are some good people out there. Like there's a couple people that I know personally, watched their careers for a very long time.
What's his name? What's your friend's name? That's the guy.
Eric Cavagnuolo.
Yeah, it's the guy that I sent my guy to, who's this
in New Jersey.
super tan guy. And he looks good. He has a much better life.
I'll say this: the name of the company is Ahead Inc.
Yes, that's it.
And
I forgot that.
This guy, I love his story because he represents to me what dedication to one's craft should be. He had a successful career outside of hair loss, hair restoration, all that stuff. He had nothing to do with it. He got involved with it because he was I won't say why because it's personal, but he went to Milan, Italy to study with Milena Lardi at Beauty Medical, which is where this technique originated, this approach to SMP, trichopigmentation. And he did the full training course. He went home and he spent 2 years perfecting it on his own. And then he went back to do the entire training session again just to make sure that he didn't forget any of the fundamentals. And all this was done before he charged his first customer a single dollar. All this was on his own dime, on his own time. He did not charge. He had volunteers. Like he would put out ads in the local places you can put ads in, papers or social media, whatever. And he would tell people straight up, "Look, I've had some great training, but I'm trying to, get better. Here's what I've done in the past. Do you trust me to use you as a test bed, as a guinea pig?" And they'd say, "Yeah," and didn't charge him a cent, not even for materials. It was all out of his own pocket. So this guy was effing dedicated to getting it right, and I love that story. It's just one of the few stories in this industry, hair loss, that shows the character of the person that you're dealing with.
Well, he does a very good job.
I like that story.
He does a very good job.
And he's good at what he does.
And I wouldn't have sent a person that I know, a friend of mine, a guy that I've known for many years from New York, to get this done. I mean, he was really struggling. He just was tired of wearing hair. I know he had a lot of problems with it. He went from kind of old school pieces to trying to get newer school pieces. And, he was just never comfortable dealing with it. And he had pretty significant scarring from some pretty shitty work. And Eric made him look great.
Yeah.
Really did. Now, this guy's a little obsessive. He was asking me, shouldn't it be darker? Do you think I should get it dark? I'm like, dude, You're free. You're lucky that you have a really good-looking face that carries off the bald, or he should have shaved his head from the beginning. But it looked good. Just do it that way. And all of a sudden, I see a picture of him. It's darker. Don't listen to me, whatever. The good news is going to fade,
Yeah. So.
Don't ask me if you're not going to listen.
By the way, people, hit like on this video, please. If you're not going to call in, you can at least do that. Hit the like button.
Yeah, dude. I mean, if no one calls in, I'm going to go.
Subscribe.
It's already
I'm down with that.
Yeah.
I'm down with that because I got stuff to do. So we can actually wrap it up if you want. No one's calling.
We'll give you.
Everyone's out doing Christmas shopping, or day drinking, one or the other, or both.
And we could say Christmas again.
What were we saying?
So people still actually go out to do Christmas shopping?
Yeah, I do. It's an excuse to get out of the house.
I refuse to go to a store. I refuse to go to a store at this stage of my life.
Just don't go to the malls.
That's
how they get you.
Yeah, I mean, that's all we got. I mean, they have some places. But here in LA, I mean, everything's about malls. Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. If you have any questions, we'll take your calls. If you're just going to sit there like Loxes, then we're going to go. I mean, you want to just watch us talk about stuff?
We can do pre-recorded stuff.
That's what successful podcasts do, not us. We take your calls.
That's what the smart people do.
Yeah.
Not these guys.
Yeah, not these guys. We take your calls. We actually want to help you, not just put out content that I could sell AG1 on.
That's good stuff. All right.
We do have a call there, brother. Sorry.
Okay. Hit it.
All right. Joe's about to leave. You're on the air.
Joe, Spencer, how's it going?
All right.
Good,
Who's this?
It's Andrew calling from Vancouver. I called a few times before in the past.
Hey, brother, listen, you got to speak into your phone.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Yeah. What's your name? Who is this?
Yeah. It's Andrew from Vancouver.
Oh, Andrew from Vancouver.
What's up, man?
Yeah, I've called you guys a few times before. I couldn't let you guys go early today because I actually missed you.
Oh, good.
Oh,
yeah.
See?
Starting to worry about you guys.
I'm starting to worry about myself. So what's going on?
Yeah. I think I might have made a big mistake. Maybe you guys can talk me through it. I went on oral minoxidil and creatine, kind of both at the same time. And so I was on creatine for a month, and then I started oral minoxidil. So I don't know if that was a long enough time to see if there was going to be any shedding with the creatine. And now I don't know if when the shedding does happen, if it's going to be, the creatine, the oral minoxidil. What do you guys think? Like, how long would it normally take to start to see any kind of, negative?
So you're asking when you're going to start to see a negative effect from creatine?
Yeah, well, I mean, if I was to see, do you think it was a long enough time? Because you guys always say don't go on two things at the same time, right?
Yeah, it would take.
So
and how many months now? How many weeks?
So I was on creatine. So it's been 2 months. I've been on both. I was on creatine for 1 month, right, prior, and then I started oral minoxidil for the last month.
Okay, and so far you haven't gone through any sheds?
Nothing too crazy.
Okay, that's
but
good.
Just whenever I watch you guys, I get nervous about kinds of things. So.
Well, then don't watch us. Live your life.
I can't help
numbers are down.
I can't help it. You guys are so damn entertaining.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy online anymore. So.
Well, listen, it's good news that you haven't started to shed. It doesn't mean that it won't happen.
Yeah.
The fact that you've been on creatine for 2 months already probably means that the creatine is not going to be any cause of an effluvium if you start to shed. It's possible. It can take up to 90 days, but I would say the average person probably sees it within 2 months. Any of these sheds.
2 months.
Would you agree, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah. I normally tell people that if you're going to see some sort of shedding, look for it in about 3 months.
Yeah.
But if you're in it 2 months already on creatine and 1 month on oral minoxidil, I would imagine that if you're going to see any sort of effluvium, it'll be minor. Maybe even questionable as far as the severity of it. So I wouldn't, at this point, I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. Just stay the course. Keep doing what you're doing.
Well, that's good. I mean, because everything else is fine. Like the oral minoxidil, there's no side effects or anything. Creatine's helped, like in the gym for sure. So it's a win-win.
You know, I'm doing pretty low carb recently, and I'm like, I noticed I was working out today. I'm like, I don't have that same, like when you eat carbs, you kind of fuller in your muscles.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm just like, damn, man, if I was on creatine, I would get that back.
I probably gained at least 3 or 4 pounds, like enough that the girlfriend noticed that things were a little bit plumper.
Wow. Does it work downstairs too or no?
Everything's good down there.
Oh, good for you.
So, but I am 53, so there's other options.
Yeah,
things fall apart. But I'm throwing everything. And I've also been on ProScar for 24 years now, so I figured oral minoxidil was the next best step, right?
Right.
Because I really don't want to go back for another hair transplant.
Well, if you don't need to, don't do it.
I think that's the best, or the next best step is if you've been on some sort of DHT inhibition for a long period of time, or we'll narrow that down to Proscar, Propecia, finasteride. I think top or oral minoxidil is the logical next step as opposed to switching your DHT inhibitor to dutasteride. I'm getting that question a lot lately. Even yesterday, should I switch to dutasteride? No. Why? Like, I understand why people are asking that, but it tells me they haven't really looked into it with any sort of great detail.
There's a lot of bro science guys who are like, they're livid about people saying that dutasteride is riskier, and they're quoting all these studies. Look, dual 5-alpha reductase inhibition doesn't seem to occur naturally. There are examples of 5-alpha reductase type 2 inhibition naturally in a relatively subset of group of people in the Dominican Republic. That's kind of how they were able to study this process. I don't know what type 1 and type 2 is going to do for the long term for people. So, if you're older, you're our age or your age, okay. I mean, how long are you going to live? So a lot of guys take dutasteride for the prostate. But in general, I don't think it's if you're doing well on finasteride and you just kind of want to titrate or kind of play with your medications, my first step would be talk to my doctor about potentially upping my dosage or going on oral minoxidil like you did. Now, oral minoxidil has its own set of potential issues. It does not come without risks.
Well, that was my other question is, so when do you guys, so my doctor agreed. He's like, it's a great next step. Take that before you go for another transplant. But so he's got me on 2.5. And I'm just wondering how long, like he wasn't too sure, like how long would you wait till you maybe bump it up to 5 milligram?
I would wait a while. I mean, make sure you're not having any adverse side effects. If you don't go through an effluvium, if you decide to bump it up, do it very gradually. No, I wouldn't even double. I would not double the dose right away either.
Really, eh?
Yeah.
Like, would you say 6 months is a safe? Like, to see any effect, like any kind of thickening of the hair, would take 3 to 6 months, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to give it. I would give it at least a year before.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, before.
Yeah. Interesting.
Make sure you're not having any side effects. You might start to see.
Go ahead. I bought a blood pressure monitor, like a proper arm one, to kind of, because that's the main concern, right? With the blood pressure.
That's a concern, or your heart exploding.
That.
Just kidding.
Yeah, well, let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah. No, I mean, as long as you're feeling pretty good and you're not noticing any edema, and you don't have any noticeable side effects, and you're being monitored by your physician, then you're doing it right. I mean, I do
Right.
find it interesting your doctor has no idea how to titrate it.
Well, I figured that, especially up here, Joe, I don't know if you know, but up in Canada, it seems like not too many people, doctors know about oral minoxidil.
There's
Like,
a
he
Dr. Jeff Donovan who knows everything about that stuff.
Oh,
But
Yeah, and he's actually in Whistler,
yeah,
of all places.
he's in Whistler? Actually, it's funny you mentioned
Yeah.
that. Does he have a podcast?
he does.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. So it popped up on my, is it worth listening to, or are you guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is one of the, I would say, top 3 authorities on this on the planet.
Oh, wow.
We're actually going to be
Yeah.
we're working together on a project that's going to be announced pretty soon. I mean, he's a good dude too, and very patient.
Awesome. Well, that's good to know.
He's very
Yeah,
patient.
because he's got like
very
a
patient man.
podcast like once a week, but he's in Whistler.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is the kind of the go-to guy for the very unique and difficult cases. Now, it doesn't mean he's going to cure you. It doesn't, but he knows his stuff, and he's a real research-oriented, scientist/physician type of guy. And he writes a lot of papers. He has a lot of experience.
And he does transplants up there.
I think he was doing. I think he still does transplants, right, Joe? I mean, I should know this.
I actually don't think so.
No.
I could be wrong, but I think he switched to just strictly.
You know what? I think
dermatology.
you're right. I think you're right, and I should know this because I'm working with him on some.
Whistler.
I'm working with him on a project right now, but I know there was a while where transplants were involved. But he's basically like your medical.
That was when he was in Toronto.
Yeah, your
was a
medical
few
hair
years ago.
loss guy. That's the guy.
Oh, well, that's good to know because I wasn't sure if his podcast was trustworthy, but that's good because I've been
Trustworthy. I
listening
mean,
to it.
he doesn't sell anything, and he's he does it honestly. I think for the passion of just getting the information out there. He helps a lot of doctors understand how to better treat their patients. He's a good dude. He's one of the few.
Yeah. No, I enjoy. Yeah, he's easy to listen to. He's easy on the ears,
Yeah, he
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
just like you guys.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Aw.
all right,
See,
brother.
Rob Elner has said he left a message saying something about Canada moved to the U.S.
It was either that or no homo. He says that a lot too.
It wasn't no homo. It was something about Canada moved to the U.S., which apparently is going to happen anyways. We're going to become the next state or something.
Yeah, you guys are going to be the 51st state, and your
right.
prime minister is going to be a governor.
Governor. Yeah, Governor Trudeau. That's hilarious. Too funny.
I got to tell you, man,
Sorry.
whatever you think about Trump, that guy is funny.
No, well, that's what I said to my buddies.
Yeah.
I said the same thing. I'm like, this guy cracks me up. He's a comedian. Like he should be doing
He really
stand-up.
is.
He has impeccable timing. Sometimes it's cringy, but I mean, some of the shit that comes out of his mouth is hilarious.
Yeah. Like I know a lot of people that got offended by what he was saying about Canada, but I thought it was hilarious. Cracked me up.
He's basically like, listen, bitches.
Because you're a sensible guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some guys down here freaking out. But
Well, I guess your prime minister is like, well, if you decide to put these tariffs on us, it's going to break our economy. And he's like, well, stop ripping off the U.S., brother.
yeah, I don't think Trudeau is going to be around much longer. But anyways,
Well, anyway,
that's
brother.
politics.
Yeah.
But okay, so you guys aren't. Neither of you are on oral minoxidil, right?
No, not yet.
No.
Jump.
I've been flirting with the idea for the past 5 years.
I'm on
And Joe, would you
finasteride
just
and
stick in your hair?
Bacardi.
Finasteride and what?
Andrew?
So I was just saying, Joe, are you like? Would you? Because for me, my hairline's gone back a bit, but it's still pretty good. I just kind of want to thicken things up a little bit. Is that what you would want to do? Because it's not going to bring back the hairline. Right?
Well, it's like this. Like I've been on finasteride for over 20 years, and everything on top of my head is transplanted anyway.
Yeah.
And you know, I've been maintaining pretty good. My hair is probably, as far as like the transplant itself may have degraded a bit. It's hard to say because I keep it so short now. Overall, it's still mostly intact from the very beginning. Most of it's probably still there. I I haven't really noticed any sort of real differences to be concerned about. I go through scares every once in a while, but it comes back and it's just, going through some sort of shed that might be concerning. One recently, actually, but it's recovered. It's already bounced back, so I'm fine. But I'm not immune to hair greed. I'm not immune to wanting to maybe try something new or add something to my regimen that might improve my hair. And I actually have a good feeling that it would. But my problem is I'm lazy as fuck. I am so lazy. It's like, why do I want to adding something else to my daily routine that I can't stop? I won't be able to stop it.
Well, it's funny because I was the same way as you, but I mean, like I say, honestly, it's been since I've been on it. It's the same thing as finasteride. You chop the pill and you just pop it, and it takes less than a second, right?
I know.
It's out of the way. I know.
It's just I know myself, and it's been tough enough to take finasteride consistently I'm shocked I've been able to do it. So adding something else,
20 years,
it's like,
right? Yeah.
Jeez, just set your fucking alarm, brother. Time to take the pill. That's what I did.
That's exactly what I did on my cell phone. Every morning, 10 a.m., boom, just pop the pill.
Yeah. I mean, mine's more difficult. I take it now like every fourth day.
Every fourth day.
It's also I don't know. It's my thing. I don't know. We'll see. I may fold and try it. We'll see.
I got to be honest. I was kind of hoping you guys would go on this first before I went on it. I kept holding out.
Uh-huh.
Let these guys go on it
first. Everyone's guinea pig. I get it.
Come on, Spencer.
I think you're the guy that asked me, right? I think I just actually posted that on Instagram. Like if I'm ever going to go on oral minoxidil a few months ago. I didn't know. Yeah. I mean, listen, I think it's great to have in my back pocket. I don't know if I'm going to ever do it. I mean, like, I don't know. I have no clue.
Your hair, like, I mean, for you, Spencer, you've like thick hair from what I can see. It doesn't look like you've got like.
It has a fullness to it, and it's thick. I have a thick mid-anterior scalp that I can grow it long enough where it maintains a thickness, kind of a thick-looking head of hair.
Right. Yeah. But the minoxidil itself, I mean, generally most people, it just thickens things up, right? It doesn't really bring back the hairline as much.
I can. I mean, I've seen crazy growth. And listen, I could use a little bit more. I've never had really strong eyebrows, and but there's hair in there, and it's blonde, and that can just like all of a sudden I could be like Andrew Zarian. I don't know if you know who that guy is, but this great, yeah. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping it thickens my beard up a bit too. So, I mean,
I don't have an issue. I don't have an issue with that. But yeah, I mean, I do think about it. I'm glad that, first of all, it's been in the mix since I started. I mean, there were doctors who were prescribing it 30 years ago. So if they were just doing it at a higher dosage, normally it wasn't something that's talked about a lot. It was kind of like almost on a down low when doctors were prescribing it. So I always kind of knew that would be in my toolbox if I ever needed it.
Were you ever on
topical?
The topical minoxidil?
Yeah, I was on it I was on compounded minoxidil before it was approved as Rogaine.
Like you're talking,
I'm talking about before 19. I'm talking about before. It was approved in 1988. Okay,
88. Yeah.
I got on it in 1987.
Wow.
It was being compounded for me, and I wake up with just like white powder in my hair, and my head was irritated. And then it was approved, so I started to use it. It definitely bought me some time for a while.
What year was it approved?
It was approved in 2% minoxidil was approved in 1988. I was able to get my hands on 5% minoxidil, so I knew a guy that was compounding it. But I did start to use it once it was approved at 2%, and then I kind of got it compounded at 5%. It was a crazy journey, brother. Let me tell you this. I mean, there was nothing. When I started balding, there was nothing. You had the Helsinki formula and all that shit.
Yeah. I'm not far behind you. I was a long-haired freak back in the early 90s. And I think it was like 92 I got on the topical Rogaine, and I don't think it did anything. So, and for me, it wasn't until 2000 I got the hair transplant, and they got me on this new medication called finasteride or Proscar, even though it's been around for a while. And ever since then, I've been on it. So
Yeah, there were a handful of people that once I found myself and I got online that were experimenting with finasteride. But I would say, at least out of the world that I knew, I was the only person. I'm not saying I was the first outside of the trials, but I was the only person that I was aware of. And even when I first got online, when I was writing the book, I mean, no one was taking finasteride.
you've been on it for, you say 30 years or something like that?
Since 1995 or something like that.
Wow, when you were like 10 years
years.
old?
Yeah, I was like 7 when I started.
I was a fetus.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, basically, half my life.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Joe, 20 odd years. I've been on it 24 years now. So, yeah, it's definitely, it saved a lot of hair. Like my brother's completely bald. And he's like, oh, I wish I'd gone on that. Well, I did tell you should try it. But
I feel bad for the guys that are very fearful of taking it. I understand it. I saw a really well-known health influencer, and this is why you got to look at these people that jaundice eye. Actually, I interviewed him once. His name is Dave Asprey, and he's the bulletproof guy. Yeah, and he essentially said something, which I'm going to do a reel on. I think it's important. And again, I don't like to dehumanize anybody that's online, and I understand everyone's got their own game and their own shit going on and their own beliefs, but he claimed that finasteride in a young man basically said that it will make maybe up to 5% of men eunuchs, essentially chemical eunuchs, and that's some significant hyperbole there. Now, he had an issue trying to take finasteride. He had a hair transplant, a lot of grass mood. He had an issue trying to take finasteride. It was suggested that he take it by his doctor. He said it was a finasteride derivative. I don't know what that means. I'm pretty sure it was either topical or some sort of generic finasteride or compounded. And he said that he lost his libido. Now, what he doesn't tell you, I'm not saying that's not possible, but what he's not saying is there is a very delicate balance, especially guys who have been on TRT for as long as he's been on TRT. And he, of all people, should understand what that delicate balance is. And he definitely should have titrated onto finasteride. The whole thing was a lot of misinformation in my view. And I think that, he told people their first line of attack if you're in your 20s should be try caffeine, aspirin, get tested for toxins, all the happy horse shit that you hear online. I couldn't believe it, really. Made me a little upset. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. But but that's what you get online, man. The fact that he said test for toxins, you can test for toxins. Here's the first thing you should test for, kids. Get checked out for hair follicle miniaturization, because if if it's toxins that are causing your hair loss, you're going to be going through a telogen effluvium. You're not going to see miniaturized hair under the microscope. You're just going to be losing your hair.
So you're saying do all this before they even get on any medication?
Well, what I'm saying is based on what this guy was telling people. He was saying to go out and get tests for heavy metals and toxins and start using topical caffeine and aspirin and all this stuff, instead of basically telling them what they need to do to find out if they actually have male pattern baldness or not.
Yeah. Right. Gotcha.
But anyway, you've been on finasteride for a long time. You're a hair transplant patient. I just went off on a tangent, but I'm glad you're doing well so far.
I like it when you go on a tangent.
Okay.
I enjoy your tangents.
Thank you. I'm glad you're doing well so far, and you should contact us in a month or so if you want, to let us know if, in fact, if you go through a shed. There's a chance you won't.
I mean, I feel pretty good so far. Like I say, it's been 2 months on both now. There hasn't been blood pressure hasn't changed because the minoxidil super easy to take, Joe. I'm assuming there's not going to be any kind of signs of growth for another couple of months anyways, but I got my fingers crossed.
All right. Well, listen, I wish you the best of luck. You sound like you're doing well. I always appreciate the call. You saved the show.
No. Appreciate you guys too, and love you guys. And Joe, Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you. I like Christmas too.
Oh, okay. Happy Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
everybody.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and all that stuff.
Yeah, okay, guys.
It's American, brother. Christmas is an American holiday. I mean, obviously it's a world holiday, but I like to be included. All right, brother.
Yeah, good. All right.
right.
Love you guys. And
Take care.
I'll call you again in a couple months.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for your help.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye.
You know, you go to like the in-laws, whatever it is over the years, you're always the guy with the Hanukkah paper. I would like the Christmas wrapping too. You know?
As long as the food's there, the food and drink, that's all that matters.
I want the Christmas wrapping like everybody else. That's all I ever wanted as a kid.
Canes.
What?
I want some candy canes.
Yeah, that's all I wanted as a kid. I wanted to be a normal kid. Now, there's nothing wrong. I appreciate who I am and my culture and my religion. But when Christmas came around, I wanted to be included.
See, that's bullshit because you guys had 8 days of gifts. Are you kidding me? We were stuck with one.
Yeah, you got good gifts. You know what I got?
I remember that. When
I got
was
an
a kid.
8-pack of Crayola crayons. I made my mother cry because of it. Because that's all they could afford.
But
I'm like, you couldn't get me the 64 box with a sharpener, the 64 crayon box with a sharpener? 8 crayons? What the fuck am I supposed to do with this? I was like 7.
That's good. That's good. Oh,
that's a true story. I never forget. To this day, I feel bad about this. I was a little kid. I was like 7 years old. And I actually told that to my mother. I was a very articulate kid. I was a very articulate, for whatever reason. I think I watched a lot of television. I really communicated well as a child, like a young child. Like I have a recording of myself at 4 years old having a conversation with somebody, which is interesting. Wow. So I just remember the look on my mother's face. She goes into the bathroom. I can smell her smoking a cigarette, and I hear her weeping. Okay? I did that to my mother at 7.
You made your mom cry.
Yeah. But, you don't have any idea that that's all they could afford at the time. And you want a color. You want the 64, crayon box with the sharpener like a normal person.
Yeah. Not a charcoal from the barbecue grill with food dye number 5 and
I got a little 8-pack of Crayola crayons. What did that cost? Like 30 cents at the time?
Yeah.
I was like, fuck this.
Look at your mama. What the fuck is that?
I actually once, as an adult, I apologized to her about that. And she remembered it.
I'm sure she appreciated that too.
She remembered it.
I'm sure she did.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
It's like, you piece of shit. You made me cry.
Selfish little fuck.
Yeah. All right, brother. We were on the balls of our ass, and at least we got you 8 crayons instead of 1. All right.
You should be thankful. That's what the dad would say.
Yeah.
You should be thankful.
All right, guys, listen, appreciate you guys, all 4 of you hanging out, tuning in, calling in. Thank you so much for, being a part of this little community. This is the better part. This is the better aspect of the hair loss community. I would say most people that listen to us and tune in are probably the nicer guys in general.
I would say so. That makes sense.
Every once in a while, we get some of the meanies calling in.
Yeah, and the weirdos.
Yeah.
But we love you all.
Yeah. All right, guys, until next time, be strong. God bless. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the programme, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you. Good night.